Hey, it's Lowry Smith of the CommanderSmiths here with Switcheroo. I'm going to play around with Feather and Glenn tonight. But first off, we'll talk about a little bit. CommanderSmiths is a podcast that comes out every Wednesday, roughly hour and a half. We do a couple of games like Stump the Smith Savant, where I guess cards off of flavor text, and also there's a staple versus. So we pick two cards that for one spot in the deck, and they're both staples, and it's kind of a fun little bit that we do, and it's definitely Smith arguing with loose logic. Um, and then the main segment kind of changes every week. My partner in crime, Adam, does proxy time weekly. Basically every Sunday night, he makes a proxy, something like this one right here, Glenn. It's sweet, and we give them out to patrons. We do have a Patreon if you want to check that out too. Um, and then we also, oh man, what do we do? Thursday nights we normally work on a deck. We started that up. It's either going to be myself, which is going to be working on Hinata, the new Kirin from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Adam's going to be working on the green red goading spirit boar thing, and that's going to be pretty cool too. I'm excited to see what he comes up with there. Um, and then we have little curated MTGs. They come out on Monday and Friday. They're shorts and they're kind of fun there too. So if you want to just kind of if you want to see more content like that, share, like, subscribe, all this kind of stuff. And then also for Feather and Glenn, we'll have chapters down in the notes. So if you want to see one over the other or whatever timing you have, you can just click and see whatever deck you want. And so that should be kind of helpful as well. I'll go through the deck so you're not totally lost on what the heck I'm doing. And then I'll go through some of the cards that I want to try and add in. Feather has kind of a stack, probably roughly 21. Each deck will roughly take about a half hour. I've only done this one time before, um, but that's kind of how it ended up. I cut all the lands, so we're not going to go through or see any of that kind of stuff either. So, um, so let's get started. I think Feather's going to take longer, so I'm going to start with Glenn just to kind of get that done. Um, So if you are unfamiliar, Glenn is white, blue, colorless. It's a 1/3 with Skulk, so creatures of greater power can't block it. And whenever Glenn deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to his power. And so that's kind of a cool draw mechanic. A little bit of evasion, a lot of draw. And what I did with this was I went equipment heavy, and let's just kind of get into that right now. So this first part's going to end up being the draw packages. There is a reanimation stuff, so there's going to be a lot of draw and discard. Looter Core has Shadow, and then whenever it deals damage, you get to draw a card and discard a card. Frantic Search is instant, draw 2, discard 2, untap 3 lands. It's a sweet card for sure. Mask of Memory is an equipment that has you draw 2 extra cards and then discard a card. Careful Studies, draw 2, discard 2. Sword of Fire and Ice is not an Atom proxy, but he's working on the swords right now, so I should have a replacement for this soon. Pro Red and Blue, +2/+2. And so it makes it hard, like Glenn, harder to block, and you're drawing more cards. And when it deals damage, you deal 2 damage to any target and draw another card. So that's kind of fun. Jace Friend's Prodigy is there just to draw a card, discard a card, and maybe flashback something. It's a very Master of Time. That's there for the draw discard, and it can get disgusting or disgusting. Planar Birth is a fantastic ramp card in white, but put all basic lands from all graveyards into play under the owner's control, tapped. Seeing that a little bit, but it's a pretty sweet card. A little sticky. Azoria's Signet, ramp. We're getting into the ramp stuff. Sword of Feast and Famine allows me to play a bunch in my hand, and then once he hits, I untap. I've already drawn a bunch of cards. It's almost like an extra turn. It's pretty sweet. Grand Architect is any blue creature can tap for 2 mana for activating artifact ability or casting that spell. Works well. Mox Opal, not an Atom proxy, but I got a lot of proxies. I own all the proxies. That's kind of our rule. Or I own all the cards that we have proxies of. So, Arcane Signet is ramp, Smothering Tithe is ramp, Inspiring Statuary is a crazy good card, and it should be played in more decks. So, but what this does, 3 mana, it taps for colorless for basically non-artifact spells, but then you can tap your equipment or other random artifacts like treasures or food or I don't have any food in here, but clues, and those all turn into mana for your non-artifact spells. It's a crazy powerful 3-drop um, artifact ramp. Mind Stone is fantastic for some card draw later on in the game. Urza High Lord Artificer is in here for ramp. Turns my artifacts into blue, essentially, and it's a body. Wait, oh, this is Gandalf, and this is Urza. This is a proxy that Adam has done. He's done a couple of you know, Lord of the Rings. He's done Game of Thrones, stuff like that. It has been kind of fun. X-Men pops up a lot. Wayfarer's Bauble is classic. Soul Ring, Talisman of Progress. Walking Atlas is pretty huge here too, because you're able to just like put another land into play in a white blue deck. It's fantastic in here. Steel Hellkite is kind of just damage or getting rid of whatever you need to get rid of. Oh, that was a proxy, Mr. Parks. That was definitely a proxy. Let's see if we can the for Feast and Famine. Yeah, that was just pulled off Google Images or whatever. But Adam's working on the swords for his proxy time, so that should get replaced here pretty soon. Council's Judgment is good removal, just generic, trying to hit anything, everything. Sword of Sinew and Steel is pro red black pump, and then getting rid of planeswalkers and mainly artifacts. So that's good in there. Wave of Reckoning. Glen is a 1/3. You'll never kill it. And so it'll get rid of basically each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. A lot of creatures have the same power toughness, and this will do a lot of work in this deck. Sultai Visionary has Shadow, so it's unblockable. You can, if Glenn's getting picked on, then you can just put those equipment on Sultai Visionary, and whenever it deals damage, you get to destroy an enchantment as well. So we're in the removal section right now. Winds of Abandon, you always overload this essentially. It's going to exile all your opponent's creatures. They put land into play. Who cares? Dismantling Wave, this is only here to destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment that player, any player controls. It's each opponent. Cycling this, you're always going to hurt yourself more. This is an artifact deck, so I'm not trying to do that. But this has done some work. Cyclonic Rift, which is a classic, and it's a bad proxy, almost old. Selfless Spirit is here to give Indestructible to Glenn. Can sacrifice it, super easy. Wall of Denial is just an easy, cheap blocker, hard to get rid of with the Shroud. 08 for 3, it's huge. Flawless Maneuver is indestructible for free with Glenn. Swiftfoot Boots, Haste Protection. Teferi's Protection is, it's so good. It's so good. Monastery Siege is here because it is draw discard for 1, and if you have enough draw going and you don't need to worry about it, you can turn it into protection. So opponents have to pay 2 more to target your stuff. Ghostly Prison. So Game of Thrones proxy that Adam has done. That looks fucking sweet. Look at that shit. All right. Norn's Annex. Make it hard for people to attack me back. I don't have a lot of powerful creatures in here, so make it a little tough. Greaves. Classic. Linvala. Sacrifices to make my creatures indestructible. Just another way of protecting Glenn. Propaganda, make it hard for people to attack me. Fierce Guardianship, try and stop anything that somebody's doing to me. Psychosis Crawler. These are going to be my draw payoffs at this point. And I can draw a lot of cards, 7, 8, not a billion. I try and play fairly fair Magic, but I still want to gain a lot of advantages and stuff like that. So Psychosis Crawler, everybody's losing 3, 5, 8 life per turn when I'm drawing. Nadir Kraken is you can pay 1 for each card you draw. It gets a 1/1 and a 1/1 tentacle creature token. This one seems to be free draw, kind of like Psychosis Crawler is pretty big. So I don't know if I really like this one right now. So I might take that out for whatever's happening. Omnis Seas, you can remove 8 Foreshadow and make an 8/8 for free, instant speed. It's a pretty cool card. Chasm Skulker, another draw, gets big as long as you're drawing, and then if it dies, you put that many 1/1 squids into play. Umazawa's Jit. This is a Star Wars proxy that Adam has not made. Just Google images and stuff like that. But this is nice with Glenn because you can, if you get counters on that attack, it's still a 1/3, and then as they declare no blocks, you can pump it up, draw 5 cards. It's baller. Key to the City is tap it, discard a card, and Glenn is unblockable. So, and then if it untaps, you can pay 2, draw a card. I'm That's acceptable to think about getting rid of too, just off the cuff. Quietus Spike halves, gives Glenn Death Touch, and then it also halves somebody's life total. That's a lot of work right there. We will. It's just to kind of end games a little bit quicker. Cigar's Aid is allowing me to equip for free and cast at flash speed for those equipment. It's a gall darn good card because you can attack with Glenn, no blocks, flash in the equipment, draw those cards. Good stuff. Pemin's Aura can actually you can pay 1 to make it an 0/4, basically unblockable, and then pump it up to what is it? You can go to a 3/3/1, something like that. So it's a pretty cool card in here too. Gives it flying, whatever, makes it a lot tougher to deal with. Crashing Drawbridge as a blocker and Haste Enabler, pretty nice in here too. Duelist Heritage gives Glenn Double Strike, which isn't increasing the power, which makes it more likely for Glenn to be blocked. But also, it's every attack phase. So, you get to choose somebody on an opponent. So, if they're not attacking you, you can give one of their creatures Double Strike. That's a pretty cool card. Fire Shrieker's Double Strike. Distortion Strike makes Glenn unblockable. +1/+0. Rebound. It's a cool card. So we are getting into the reanimation package, which is weird. It's a white-blue deck. Emery is going to bring back artifacts. It's going to be super cheap. It's going to mill for you, bring back some of those cards. Sword of Light and Shadow. Again, not an Atom proxy at this point, but can bring back any creatures that have died, like Limvala or Selfless Spirit, stuff like that. Also gains you a little bit of life, protection, all that kind of stuff. It's good. Tashar, you're playing a lot of artifacts, so you can bring back, again, Selfless Spirit, Linvala. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can even bring Glenn back if you need to. Dance of the Manse is if anybody wants to blow up all your artifacts, you can just pay X, bring a ton of them back, get a lot of value, maybe even an army. Totally worth it. Amiria Shepherd, this goes bonkers when you have that Planar Rebirth or Planar Birth where a ton of lands come into play, but also it's just a really good card. It's kind of top end reanimator. It doesn't overtake the game, but it's kind of, if nobody deals with it, you're going to win. You're always playing a land in this deck. Matamai, the Ageless, whenever it deals damage, you get to take an extra turn, but it can't attack on those extra turns. But if you give it Double Strike, you get 2 extra turns. That seems kind of cool to me. Mirage Mirror, this is kind of a loose spot, but it's very flexible, but we'll take that out. Approach of the Second Sun, it's if you cast it, you gain 7 life, and if it isn't the second time, you put it 7 down, and then if you play it again, you win the game. And so with Glenn, you can be drawing this your next turn if played right and all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. Teferi Hero Dominaria, just kind of like a utility card. And this one I think can be on the chopping block as well. It's expensive. It kind of does some stuff, but we'll see. We'll see what I got in store here. All right, cards I want to add. Sword of the Chosen. 2 colorless, super cheap, legendary artifact. You can tap it, target legend. Glenn gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It's pretty sweet because you get to let Glenn go through unblocked, tap it, give it the +2/+2, and then you draw 2 extra cards off of it and deal that 2 extra damage. I think it's a really cool card. Might be a little narrow, but adding some cheap protection in here, divert, change the target to a target spell with a single target unless that spell's controller pays 2. So it's just kind of like somebody goes to Swords to Plowshare Glen, you're like, okay, switch it over to maybe not theirs so that they don't pay the 2. And then you just, how about this next worst creature? And then they might not want to pay the 2 on that. So kind of cool. I think I thought I saw that in here. This is a cool card. We'll try and get that in there. So ETBs puts a land into play if you're behind. Digest Engineer. Like I said, I have a lot of artifacts in here, and so if I pay 2, I get one of those construct artifacts, like an Urza construct, and then you can create an army that way. I'm just trying to find ways to kind of close out games a little bit more inevitability rather than relying on Glenn fully to also close out the game. So we'll see. Actually, all right. This one is creatures you control can't be blocked except by legendary creatures. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. So I thought I wanted to do dungeons before. This is still kind of cool to make it harder to block, Glenn. We'll see what happens. Wing boots gives it flying. Ward 4, kind of just another protection thing. Kind of cool. I want to try and play with that a little bit more. This is probably foretelling. Return each creature your opponent's control with toughness X or less into its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. So it's no matter what, you're going to bounce. It's just opponents. You're going to bounce those smaller creatures that can block Glenn. Um, and it's just something that I'm going to see if I can fit it in there. Wash Away is a counter target spell that wasn't cast from its owner hand. So this is a commander counterspell, really cheap. It's pretty sweet. Disorder in the court, exile X target creatures, then investigate X times, return the exiled cards to the battlefield tapped under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. And so this card, I love it. It's a really, really cool card. It's gonna go in Hinata pretty quick, but what you can do here is just bounce or flicker a ton of cards until end of turn. You can get your ETB triggers off of it. It seems like a really versatile card, maybe a little expensive, but it's pretty cool. And then Teferi, who slows the sunset. Why did I even put this in here? Choose up to one target artifact, up to one target creature, and up to one target land. Untap the chosen permanents you control. Tap the chosen permanents you don't control. You gain 2 life. So it's probably a little bit of flexibility. And this was probably going to be the straight replacement for Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. That's the -2. And then the -7 is you get an emblem with untap all permanents you control during each opponent's untap step. You draw a card during each opponent's draw step. So I think it's cool. I think it has a shot at just like a replacement for Hero of Dominaria. I'll have to take a look at that a little bit more. All right. So is there anything just outright where I'm just like, okay, I want to just fit this in? All right, let's see here. And sorry that it's blurry down here. I just not gonna work. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be. All right. So Nadir Kraken is kind of that draw, create an army, which is kind of what Dig Site Engineer is. That 2 does really, really hurt it, but I think you kind of plan with that to whereas this, you're drawing and you don't let's see, same CMC 3/3 versus a 2/3, but that one does this Nadir Kraken gets huge. Well, let's think about it a little bit. All right, unblockability, wing boots might be key to the city. Um Mirage Mirror, what is that? That's just flexibility. I don't entirely know. That was just kind of filling a spot, but I do really like this deck. Um, so ramp, removal. There. blockability. I guess that could be there too. I don't know if I really care for that over that. Um, and that could just go right there too. There's removal, like this. It's kind of like that end game bigger. We'll see. This might be, is it toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control, and that might just not be good enough. I think maybe I'll cut this. I'll cut that right off the bat. I don't think that's going to work in there. Okay, let's think about this a little bit more. All right, let's restart looking at the deck. All right, the draw discard is a nice thing going on. I don't necessarily want to get rid of many of these cards. Jace is nice. Fury's sweet. Planar Rebirth. Signet. Sword of Feast and Famine. Grand Architect. Okay, we're getting into the land part. Okay, I like the drawing that's going on. It doesn't have to be super like all over the place just because Glenn is so strong in that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 plus Glenn is probably, it's enough. I've been happy with it. All right, so my ramp, which is potentially Loyal Warhound going in. Let's see there. This has been super powerful. Mox Opal's nice because when you're drawing a ton of cards, you just are able to put it down and it's going to work. Arcane Signet, Smothering Tithe, Inspiring Statuary, Mind Stone, Urza, Wayfarer's Bauble, Soul Ring, Talisman, Walking Atlas. Okay. I like all of those cards in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'll probably be willing to put that in here and make sure that I get to 12 ramp cards. I'd be fine with that. Like I'm just trying to think. My deck is pretty low to the ground. But there are some times where you can have I think I have like Lotus Field or something in here. So I can be sacrificing lands and stuff like that. So I can fall behind pretty easy. Loyal Warhound can work. Removal. Is there anything in, so kind of looking at these 3 cards: Disorder in Court, Wash Away, Divert. Even though Divert is more of like a protection card. All right. Removal, Steel Hellkite is just so good and being able to get a lot of stuff. Council's Judgment. This is target creatures. This is a commander essentially. So it's pretty narrow unless I want to pay 3. Divert is a protection spell. All right, I'm fine with that. The sword is great. Great. Solid. It's kind of hard to cut creatures unless I'm going to add a creature as well because I am pretty light in here and so you can get beat up pretty quick in an aggro meta. Winds is good. Dismantling Wave is solid. Is there something there that I would be happier with? This. Yeah, it's always so hard to. I totally agree, Miss Sparks. It's so hard to figure out what to let go in a deck, but that's why I'm doing it, and hopefully that's why you're here. Maybe thinking about it, learning a little bit, and then if you have any suggestions, if you can think of something that's just better than Dismantling Wave, it might be like Heliod's Intervention that goes here instead, because then I can just choose what I'm doing. But I don't have that here. Maybe later at this point, but I need a little bit of artifact and enchantment removal. Cyclonic Rift. That's going to stay. I do want this deck to be a little bit more competitive than my other decks. Like I want it to be hard to deal with, like kind of a little bit of scary where people are like, okay, we need to take care of Glenn and then just not be able to do anything about it. I have really liked the indestructible creatures, just being able to bring them back with Deshar or Amira Angel is solid. Wall of Denial has been really good, makes it hard to attack, which in turn, same thing, Ghostly Prison, Norn's Annex. Propaganda, I think those work really well in here. Is there anything that can compete against that? Not really, no. Flawless Maneuver has been solid. Boots and Greaves. Okay. Is Boots and Greaves something that I want? Like, the haste is really nice, but the shroud is not, but it's super easy to move around and everything. So, I think we'll keep that for now, just being because Glenn does become a target after, you draw a couple cards and everybody's like, "Hey, he's drawn 6, 7, 8 more cards than we have. We need to do something about this." Teferi's Protection is solid. Ooh, okay. This is one that I've been cutting from more and more decks. I loved this card like 4 years ago when we started the cast. I couldn't stop talking about it, but since then, I just haven't talked about it a lot. And so is this something that'd be more fun maybe as Disorder in the Court? Because then it's kinda like a late game push, and it can get you or get me a bunch of Investigate, which works with Inspiring Statuary, which works with some of the artifact stuff that's going on. Can just draw you more cards if need be. That could be a consideration. I do think I wanna try and get Disorder in the Court in here. Fierce Guardianship is happening. That's here. Draw payoffs. And I think those 3 are really good. Omniseize is really, really good. Seriously. If you don't have it, pick it up in foil. It's cheap, but it's good. Check it out. Okay, we're gonna start getting into equipment and pumps and stuff like that. Jit is sweet. Spike is good. It just kind of gets games moving pretty quick. I don't know how much has anybody played with Almost Hello or Almond Hello. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. And has anybody been like Wash Away just seems so good, right? I think we're gonna cut this Midnight Pathfinder right away too. I don't think I want to fight for that in here. So right now we're trying to find a spot for Wash Away, Divert, and Sword of the Chosen. These two are pretty generic, so I'm not gonna like have hurt feelings if they don't make it. But Sword of the Chosen, I bought this recently just for this deck, and so I'd like to make that work in here. Spike is sweet. Sigarda's Aid, that's good. Aura's good. Crashing Drawbridge, Duelist Heritage, Shrieker. It's kind of expensive, but it goes really well. Like the double striking seems solid in this deck, like with Modamai and Glenn, like works in my mind. Distortion Strike, I like it. Emery is solid in okay, we just went through the pumps, didn't we? Okay. Okay. I think that's where we're gonna be fine. uh, Mr. Parks is saying the first thing I get rid of always is a land, which is bad because you need healthy amount of that. This is true. Yeah. So my deck is gonna have I believe I have 36 land in here, and that's what I try and do with my two color decks. And the other thing, like when I'm going through and looking for cuts and stuff like that to add, subtract, and like I take the lands out. I don't even look at them. That's what I want unless I'm getting another land, and that way I'm not tempted to cut a land either. Um, so it's definitely one thing that I try and really, really hold to with my principles of just like 2 colors is 30 or 1 and 2 colors is 36 land, and then 3 plus decks or colors are 38 land. And so I really try and stick to that as best I can. and it helps me stay consistent. Emery, as Almond is saying, it is an amazing card. It is so good. It's hard not to put it in a lot of blue decks. General, I don't know what you're doing if you take her out. Yeah, I'm not gonna take her out, I don't think. Never use Soul Ring. Are those so-called staples? I don't know why. Mr. Parks, you're a hipster. You don't wanna do that kinda stuff. I totally understand. And that's fine too. That's you don't have to play Soul Ring or Arcane Signet or whatever. Uh, I like to, but that's just like speed of the game that I like to play, and especially with my play group, they it has to go a little bit quicker for me too. So, sort of light and shadow. I wonder if that well, if I'm adding that in and I have discard, I think I still keep that. I like that in here. Dance of the Manse is just one good bring them all back, do that kind of thing. Amiria Shepherd. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the 2 counter spells. I don't really do a lot of counter spells anyway, so it's fine. They're generic. They can fit into other decks. I'm not gonna feel bad about that. Okay, so right now, I think I'm going to be happy with my soft part. Okay, I like Key to the City. I've liked it a ton. Um, but I do want to play Wing Boots. This adds protection along with harder to block. And and, drawing the card, I almost never do that with the pay 2, so I'm gonna be doing that. Alright. Oh, jeez. Almond's sitting here saying that he's playing Emery with Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal. I did have Lotus Petal in here for a while, but, I don't know why I cut it, but, it's definitely cool. Emery's such a good card, and just that cost reduction. So, Wing Boots, this is gonna be the first deck that I have it in. I'm gonna hopefully it makes me happy, but I think that protection is gonna be nice. Also, I think let's get Loyal Warbound. Oh, yeah, Warbound in for Mirage Mirror. Mirage Mirror was just kind of generic, kind of catch all. And getting a little bit more ramp in here is going to be nice. Even though, like, with Glenn drawing so much, I often ramp quite frequently. And so it should be nice. I always hit my land drops in this deck. It's pretty sweet. All right. So we are da, 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 put about 40 lands in most of yours. Yeah, I mean, if Mr. Parks, if you aren't playing Soul Ring and Signet, you definitely want to be running more lands and or like other types of artifact rocks and stuff like that. Like ramp is good, but also consistency, especially if you're not playing enough ramp. So I still want to get sort of the chosen in. We'll see how that goes. And so I want to figure out I think maybe Teferi is the weakest out of this bunch. Like, it doesn't fit. I think I was just kinda going like it's an easy swap, but at the same time yeah, I think that's where we're going. This'll create a little bit more of an army. I go wide. Yeah, let's get rid of Nadir Kraken for now. This one I'll definitely keep around and see if it goes in later. Like, maybe Dig Site Engineer just isn't good. I've tried to play it in other decks, and I've had to cut it, but I like it for some reason. So I'm going to try it in this deck because I do have a lot of artifacts. Monastery Siege, getting cut again, and so we'll just. This is one I'll keep around too. It does fit really well in the deck, but I want to try out Disorder in the Court here, and it could be really cool. I think Disorder in the Court is speccable, so full arts if you want to go check it out. I don't even know what those prices are at right now. Yeah, Emery's only $4, so it's pretty cool. And I think at this point, I'm gonna get rid of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. It feels weird. It's a little bit more top end for this deck, but I want to get sort of the Chosen in, and I want to play that a little bit too. Um, so Glenn is sweet. And I think that's gonna be about it. So the cards that we've added so far tonight is I added in Wing Boots, Loyal War Hound. I said Warbound earlier. Warhound, Dig Site Engineer, because there's a lot of artifacts in here. Disorder in the Court, just for the blanking, being able to get those investigation tokens, stuff like that, and sort of the Chosen, to be able to pump Glenn at instant speed, get it through, draw more cards. It's pretty cool. The What am I most excited for with Kamigawa? Almond is asking. I am. I think it's a really sweet set, and there is. We have Wednesday. We have the podcast coming out tomorrow, and we're going to go over all of the legends. But Hinata is what I am super excited for. I think Expel Tribal doesn't have a lot of options, so it's going to open up a lot of cards to be able to play with. Is there anything I want to keep around? Not really. Maybe the Tefiris. Just make sure that they stick around and maybe they work a little bit. Key of the City can kind of stay there too, but these can go. These can get binned. So, but Hinata is going to be really cool. I think we have shoot. There was another one. I don't. What's the Moonfolk one? Do you guys remember what the Moonfolk one? The white it's blue, but then it has a white ability. That's the other one that I might actually just go out on a limb, and it's where like you read whenever something is returned to a player's hand, you get to draw a card once per turn, and then you can pay white an X and return an artifact or enchantment from your graveyard to play, and you return a land to your hand. It seems really cool. I'm super stoked for that one too. All right, let's see if I can catch up. Everyone's talking about the build-ups for the Heliod's invention in that deck. Yeah, for sure. Hinata is going to be super gross with X spells. And just talking about Hinata and what I'm going to try, I'm going to be trying to do a spotlight or searching for the spotlight next Thursday or the one after that. But I want to do like it's gonna suck because it's going to be able to a lot of people are gonna build like destroy everybody's creatures super cheap, super efficient. And I can see people get really pissed at that. So I'm going to at least when it comes to creatures, not destroy them, but I'm gonna want to tap them. I'm gonna want to bounce them, make it annoying, but not like unbeatable. And then the other thing I want to be able to do is target my own creatures and probably have some type of heroic deck so that I'm getting bonuses off of the like drawing cards, counters on it, counters on all my creatures, making tokens. I think that could be a really kind of fun deck that people aren't necessarily talking about with Hinata. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, actually, this is my stack for Hinata, and boom, feathers right there. You're not wrong. I think it's going to be really cool in there. So feather, we're gonna work on that right now. I got a shit ton to go through. I don't know if I'm probably gonna go through feather here decently quick. So what is it? Yeah, it was about 35 minutes for Glenn. I don't think this is too different of a deck for like a feather builds. I don't think it's too crazy or anything, but this is my ramp package. Let's see here. The let's see here. Cast a spell, get a treasure, fantastic. Signet, solemn, soul ring, tithe, loyal warhound, already had it in here. Sweet. Talisman, sword of feast and famine. This is also something where you're playing cards on everybody's turn, so you need mana up, and it's a fantastic card in just everything. It's the best sword. Knight of the White Orchid is ramp, just like Warhound. Chromatic Lantern helps you fix a bit with because so many of the spells are just like one white or one red. You need, whatever's available. Sort of the Animus gets you some of that ramp too. It's a pretty sweet card. All right, getting into the pumps and the draws. Instant speed doesn't matter. Draws a card essentially. Pumps it a little bit. Double strike draws a card. Uh, doot, doot, doot. Mavinda, Student's Advocate. There's a sweet card in here too. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell doesn't target a creature you control, it costs 8 more, but it will in this deck. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead, which it's not going into the graveyard because it will if you do return that to your hand at the beginning, or you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into the graveyard as it resolves. So you get to choose which exile you get. So you always say it's going to get exiled and go to your hand. And so it's pretty cool in that regard. Mavinda is cool in this deck. Top, not Adam's proxy, but Adam does have a proxy. Sunforger is perfect in this deck. It works really well. Expedited is haste and draw. Fist of Flame is +1 or draw a card +1/+0 for each card you've drawn this turn. So it's kind of a nice bigger pump, and it also gives trample. Crimson Whiffs is haste and draw, and getting into some of the casting spells and stuff like that. So Burning Prophet, it's a little bit of an early blocker. You get to scry. I don't know how much this +1/+0 is going to really matter. It normally doesn't, but the scrying is pretty nice. Titan Strength is +3/+0, so it's a bit more of a pump, but just a scry instead of a draw. Sheltering Light is indestructible, scry 1. God's Willing is protection, scry 1. Dusk Corona, which is a favorite of mine, but it's an aura, +2/+0, and can't be blocked by creatures with flying. You put it on a red legend with flying, it is unblockable. It's pretty sweet. Rush of Blood, target creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. So kind of a, it's going to double boost it. Same thing with Unleash Fury. And hands are a little sweaty. Seize the Day, targeting, getting extra combat steps, pretty sweet in there too. Balestone Amulet is whenever you play a spell, creatures you control can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. So you're always casting instants, and you're able to protect your creatures that way. Pretty easy. Island Sanctuary, just I don't have to draw a card during my upkeep because I'm going to draw a bunch of cards anyway, and I get them back from Feather anyway, so it makes it harder for people to attack me. Boros Charm is kind of flexible in this deck. It can deal 4 damage, or all your creatures, all the permanents you control are indestructible, or you can give a creature double strike. So that's the one where if you give the creature double strike, you're targeting it and you can get it back. But it's also like a really nice board wipe protection. Vitus 1 is a pump and indestructible for 1 or 2 creatures. Haste. Eerie Interlude is blink that targets your own stuff, so you get it back. Magus of the Moat, just making it harder for people to attack me. Silent Arbiter, I'm only attacking with Feather pretty much. Let's make it so that people can't attack me too much back. Zada's crazy in this deck because you target Zada, it targets all of your creatures. You get to draw or pump or whatever. It's so good in here. Same thing with Mirror Wing Dragon. This is going to be a tight list. This is going to be hard to fit stuff in. I'm going to be honest here. Monastery Mentor and Young Pyromancer are creating tokens for myself. Wear Tear. So if you do the 3, destroying an enchantment, I can choose one of my own artifacts, and then, or like if it's a creature, and get it back. Not many of those in here, but could. Intimidation Bolt is a sweet card. 3 damage to target creature. If you choose your own, you get it back. And then other creatures can't attack this turn, so you can stop somebody attacking you. Durgar Hedge Mage, ETB, and then it just destroys artifacts and enchantments. Fel the Mighty is destroy target all creatures with power greater than target creature's power, and it targets your own creature. Get it back. While the Hammer is sweet removal for power that you have. Chandra's Ignition is a wrath that targets one of your creatures. Shenanigans is repeatable artifact removal with Dredge. Impact Residence is good removal, targets your own creature. And Soul's Fire is also good burn, targeting your own creature to do it over and over again. Aurelia's Fury, you just want to make sure it taps down a lot of creatures. It can burn to the face. As long as you pay 1 more to tap one of your own creatures, you're going to get it back. Comet Storm, same thing, just does a lot of heavy burn. Reckless Rage, 4 damage to them, 2 to yours. You get it back constantly. Livewire Lash, and you put that on Feather, and you target it 3-4 times a turn. You're dealing 6-8 damage. It's a pretty sweet card. Swords to Plowshare, it's life gain if you need it. especially with, but it's more just removal. Path to Exile. Now, this is something, this is not one of Adam's proxies either. This is super old. But if you target your own creature in here, you get it back and you're ramping. So it's a cool one there. Fiery Confluence. Just fucking love this card. Tajik and Darksteel Mirror. They're just blockers, but also being able to target them easy without having them die. They're kind of nice in here. Heat Shimmer is targeting your own creature, making tokens. Aetherflux Reservoir, people don't like it, so I understand that, but it's gaining you life and being, I'm playing a bunch of cards per turn, can gain a bunch of life. It kind of helps come back, and then you can fireball somebody in the face if you need to. Electric static field is crazy in this kind of deck. 3-4 damage per turn almost. Uh, Same thing, just can't block. So I don't know. And then Balefire Leaves gives a pump, gains you life, deals the damage. That's the deck. There's a lot of cards here that I want to put in here. And I don't think that's going to happen. So let's kind of go through some of these. Thermal Alchemist, 03 blocker, but it untaps whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. You're dealing damage. Just like another electrostatic area of flame. Whenever it enters a battlefield, each opponent gains 10 life. But that ain't that bad, right? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a verse counter on it, and then it deals damage equal to the number of verse counters on it to target player or planeswalker. And so that I'm thinking that can build up pretty quick. This is probably a late game card. I don't want to give 30 life out in this deck, but I think it could be kind of fun. Phase Steed is just to try and get Feather some indestructible. I think it's already expensive. I just need to be aggressive on cutting these. I don't think that's going to work. Each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. This doesn't target, but you're almost never going to have Feather kill itself. So it's just another Wrath. Chandra is some ramp. It's kind of some draw. It's damage. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. I really like it, but I don't think it's needed here. I did not have Chaos Warp in there or Thought Vessel because your hands can get fat. So you can draw a lot of cards in here, but not a lot. Not like Glenn. And I think I'd much rather put Area of Flame in there just for damage. I think we'll cut Psychosis Crawler. Flicker targets your own thing, and you can flicker it. Target creature gets +1/+0 for strike, draw a card, but it's 2 mana. 2? We'll see. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control any equipment, put a 1/1 human. So it's creating tokens, getting a pump. That's equal to drawing? Question mark. Being able to do that, creating tokens is pretty sweet. Instant target creature you control gets +1/+2, or return target creature you control to its owner's hand. I'm just gonna cut that. I don't think that's gonna work. Acrobatic maneuver, exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its own control. Draw a card. 3 mana is too much. Too much. Target creature can't block this turn. Draw a card. This is just a draw card. Cut. Not going to fit in there. Reckless Impulse. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of turn. You may play those cards. I don't think that's necessary either. This one seems powerful. Put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. It gains Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn. That's 3 mana, sorcery, has flashback, but it's targeting your own thing. It's doing a lot of stuff, and the counters are pretty nice too. We'll try for that. Wall of Mourning. When it ETBs, exile a card from the top of your library face down for each opponent you have. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, put a card exiled with Wall of Mourning into that owner's hand. So it has the potential to draw you like 3 cards. It's an 04 wall, real cheap. We'll see. Investigator's Journal. I don't think that fits in here. I'm just going to get rid of that. When it ETBs, create a blood token for each opponent you have, and then blood tokens you control are equipment. And in addition to the other types, have equipped creature has +2/+0, equip 2. I'm going to skip on that. I don't think that works here. Oh, Naginata is Gonna be sweet in here. Gives it trample, +3/+0. It's pretty cheap. Odric. I really like Odric, but I think I'm also just going to cut it this way. All right, Mage's Contest. You and target spell's controller bid life. You start the bidding with a high bid of 1. In turn order, each player may top the high bid. The bidding ends when the high bid stands. The highest bidder loses life equal to the high bid. If you win the bidding, counter that spell. That's interesting. That is interesting. But I don't know if that goes in here. I'm not targeting. It's kind of like a counter spell. I don't have Tybalt's Trickery. Let's just cancel that right now. Okay, so I have plenty of cards still to kind of go through. We have nope. Let's just kind of see here. Let's see. Chaos Warp just seems like it should go in there. All right, so we have some ramp. Where's our ramp? This one. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11. Thought Vessel would be nice. I'm actually kind of surprised I'm not seeing. Well, yeah. Okay, so I think initially the colorless does hurt this. Not making any sort of pip. That's why I don't have that other one that can draw you a card. I don't necessarily want to take any of these out. So we'll have to see if something else fits in. All right. I like my draw cards that I have in there, or my ramp cards. All right. Pump cards. Kind of looking at instant speed. So kind of like boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. So kind of like if there's something that'll swap in or out, but I think I'm more interested. Like I want to keep the draw cards. I don't have a lot there, do I? Okay. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Those are scries. So let's look at the draws first. I think I'm just gonna keep, card advantage, drawing. I think that's all super important, and that'll be nice. It's nice to have it repeatable. I need the creatures, but the scrying ones, they can kind of go. So I don't have a lot of scrying ones. Protection is really nice. Indestructible is really nice. The pump on this maybe doesn't matter. 2/2 until end of turn and making tokens. And that's a creature. Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink. +2/+2. This is a pretty good one too. 3 mana is a lot though. +1/+0, draw, +2/+2. And I kind of want to do the Strength of Arms. I think we'll check that out. Right there. Same mana split. Getting a token is pretty cool instead of drawing, but all right, Dust Corona is acceptable. So these 3 are kind of similar because they're just like really good or like really powerful or can be. And so we'll see. Seize the Day seems good. Veilstone Amulet is good. I have a bunch of cards that are going to stop people from attacking me. All right, that I think I find that pretty good. What is that going to be? Yeah, I think that's good. I think I'm going to end up cutting Rush of Blood for the Angel Fire because it gives it vigilance, indestructible, lifelink until end of turn. Like that's all some pretty big stuff. I like that. Island Sanctuary, Boros Charm, Swiftfoot Boots, Eerie Interlude, Magus of the Moat, Silent Arbiter. Is this just something? Oh, this is tough. This is really tough. Tokens makes sense. Does that matter? Is this gonna matter? That can remove 2. Chaos Warp just does anything and everything. Um, I don't have Wear and Tear in a lot of decks. I have Chaos Warp in, like, every fucking deck, right? Fell the Mighty, Ball of Hammer, Chandra's Ignition, maybe Shenanigans. Maybe I don't care about that one. That might be acceptable to get rid of. We'll see where that goes. All right. Bunch of creature damage. That's straight to the face, straight to the face, straight to the face. Removal. That's good. Swords of Plowshare is just not something that I'm going to cast on my creatures. So I'm not going to get it back. So that's only a one-timer. Kind of like Chaos Warp, but it's cheap. Can't get rid of swords. Path. Path is actually good. All right. 1 damage to each creature, 2 damage to each opponent, destroy target artifact. I think let's go Fiery Confluence. Will get cut for Solar Blaze. I mean, this is going to affect a lot more creatures. This is going to get rid of a lot of my tokens, which is going to be a bummer. But I don't have a lot of tokens. You know, the 1 there and then 2 from Mentor and the other guy. Otherwise, I kind of have a lot of creatures that are equals to its power. Yeah, I think that's an okay one. I think that's okay. Because Fiery Confluence is killing those tokens anyway. So is Darksteel and Tajik something that I want to change out for the 2 walls that I have? That's damage. That's kind of a draw, and these are just indestructible at this point. I could be okay with that. Heat Shimmer's sweet. Aether Flux. Does anybody want to try and talk me into switching out? Where the fuck did that go? Oh yeah, Area of Flame. Like, is that both or one for the other? Mm, that is the question. Okay, the Chaos Warp is pretty generic. We can get rid of that. I think Thought Vessel might be a little tough. I want to try and get Aria of Flame in here because I do cast a lot of spells in here. Flicker can go. Let's do Strength of Arms, get rid of Titan Strength. At this point, I think I might not like the idea of not like scrying or drawing cards, but we'll see. We'll see. That's why you play through it. I think that's a good difference. It doesn't remove artifacts which might be needed, especially since I'm getting rid of Shenanigans as well. So I'm going to keep those around. I might already have enough. Oh, that's a really good point. I think I already have enough creature removal. I need like that can be 6 damage to the face for each of my opponents or getting rid of 3 artifacts. I think that's a lot of good. All right, Solar Blaze is already cut. Darn it. Darn it, darn it. I like the idea of Reservoir in there, even though it sucks to play against. I totally understand that. I am sorry. All right, Chaos Warp is for when you want chaos. Not needed here. Yeah, I mean, Chaos Warp is one of my favorite removal spells. It hits lands, it hits anything and everything. It's just a really nice catch-all card. But I have a bunch of cards that can like go to the face. And so if I can't attack, maybe that, it doesn't necessarily matter if I can't deal with a propaganda or something that's locking down the field. And so maybe that doesn't necessarily matter. I have a bunch of pumps that we'll get rid of that. But I do think maybe that's what it is. We'll keep Fiery Confluence at this point, but get rid of Shenanigans and put in Aria of Flame. I think that'd be a fun card. I think it could do a lot of damage. Crappy thing would be is like you give everybody 10 life and then they're like, oh, destroy it. And you're like, oh, I just extended this game for 30 minutes. I could see that happening, right? So I want Angel Fire Ignition in here, especially because I can't play it in Calamax. I could potentially play Rush of Blood in Calamax if I ever go back that route. Because doubling power is pretty powerful, but 3 mana is a lot too. 3 mana is a lot. All right, so I'm talking those two. Yeah, let's just take it out. I think I like. Oh, that's a really good point though. Because when I'm okay, let's go through this again. We have these are really nice when you're like burning stuff, like burning heavy. So a bunch of this mana, I think that just works. Sort of the Animist, is that something? No, no. That's just way better than Thoth Vessel. I think it's just probably fine to be discarding cards in this deck. I think that's fine. Yeah. Cutting that. Okay. So next one is Gilded Strike. I know 2 mana is a lot in here. I'm okay cutting that as well. 2 mana. I mean, drawing the card is nice. Maybe leave that here just in case one of those scries kind of stick out. But drawing is nice. This is also first strike. No. Double strike, draw. Sunforger is kind of a tutor. But Vanda is that bringing stuff back. Sensei's top. Burning Prophet is drawing, scrying. Scry. Basically, the one exception to the spells having it be an instant or sorcery. Seize the Day. Veilstone Amulet. Fight is 1. Yeah, Indestructible is nice because people just target it. Okay. Target creature until end of turn. So I could do other stuff, other people's creatures. I don't know if that's something that I would want to do. Unleash Fury, I think that's pretty good in Feather. But I think I have the burn. Maybe I don't care. Maybe that's something that can be considered here. I want to try and get at least this one in, just like being able to get a lot of damage done. This is pretty pinpoint. Can't attack, indestructible, protection, blink. Can't attack. Is that something? So that's kind of a wall. That kind of creatures without flying can't attack. Is that something that slows down games quite a bit? I still like Silent Arbiter, but maybe Magus of the Moat doesn't do enough for me. It's we'll keep that in there. I think that's good enough. And I think that's a really good point. I think Wall of Mourning probably doesn't make it. That one doesn't make it, whatever that was. And Thermo Alchemist. Oh, 1/2/2 indestructible for red, white, more. I think I'm going to keep Unleash Fury, and I'm going to choose between one of these two. I think I'll cut Tajik just because it's a little bit more mana, and like at the early spots, like if my mana's a little kind of screwed up, then Feather doesn't come down, but then Darksteel Mirror can as kind of a wall. And the nice thing is like I said, like being able to target it and then have it have whatever cards stick around is super nice. So like this, I can wear my Darksteel, it's going to come back, and I can just keep on doing enchantments and stuff like that. So it's kind of lame, but it works. It works. Or dealing 3 damage to it, and that's fine. Is there anything else? Let's kind of go through this. I think this will be kind of interesting to see where it kind of ends up. All right. I think we're kind of coming to an end here. I kind of like where this ended up. And so it doesn't feel like I added a lot of cards. It looks like I added 4 cards. So strength of the arms, +2/+2 on a token. Aria Flame to deal like damage to the face on people. Angel Fire Ignition for the counters. Lifelink, Indestructible Trample, Vigilance. That's kind of a huge card. Just some like extra damage all the way around. So what did I cut? I cut Tajik. I cut Shenanigans, which feels bad. Titan Strength. And let's see here. What else? That's a curated. And then I just did I cut a land? Oh yeah. Rush of Blood. Okay. So 4 makes it legitimate. I'm happy with everything except for Shenanigans. So I'll probably keep these 3 around. Rush of Blood can kind of go. It was always expensive. Is there anything else that I want to keep around? Like, it's okay if I don't get rid of it right away. Flicker, Chaos War, Boom, Audric. I just don't need that draw. That's interesting, but it's just not needed. Renegade Tactics. Psychosis Crawlers, kind of like damage. Is that, yeah, I'm not drawing a ton cards. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Those 4 cards, they worked, and those 3 will stick around. And I think that's what we got right now. So I'm pretty happy with that. I appreciate everybody that came out and for the live chat, helped me out, chatted me up, made it so I wasn't so lonely. And anybody that's watching later on, I appreciate it. Make some comments if you're like, "Hey, you're bad at this," but I don't know if I'd appreciate that. So, um, but okay, true, but it's like it for nonsense, tiny wheel effect. Yeah, kind of a little bit for Chaos Warp, I'm assuming. So, hey, check out the CommanderSmith's podcast if you're seeing this randomly. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a good night. Bye.